Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Wade here with another dose of Photoshop. Today we are going to be learning about blend modes and adjustment layers to create a lovely double exposure effect with these four images. We have blue hair, we have starry night, scan logo, and green to blue. Okay, so we'll just begin with blue hair. I once dated a girl in high school named Sylvia. She had blue hair, and she claimed that she had sacrificed a Smurf over her head. This is not Sylvia, but we'll be working with this image nonetheless. Okay, so we're going to begin by activating the file. You'll notice here in the image layer panel that this background file has been locked. We're just going to double click this. And we'll go ahead and name this new layer, for no particular reason, Sylvia. Okay, so there she is. And what we're going to be doing now is we are going to be saving this layer and dropping it into green to blue. There we go. Because these are the same size files, we don't have to worry about paste in special in any sort of way. Then we'll go to Starry Night. Starry Night is actually a JPEG file. And that means that it can't really turn into a layer unless we actively do so. So it's important that we double click this. Now we'll just change the name to Starry Night. And something that we can do here that I'd just like to point out is that we can also duplicate layers and drop them into different tabs. And so what I've done there is I right-clicked on Starry Night, and now I'm picking green to blue. Now there's no change here until we go to the green and blue tab, and we notice, bam! There it is, Starry Night right there. I'm going to drag Sylvia to the top, and now we're going to begin looking at blend modes. Now, you also have a layer here that indicates just a basic summary of what you need to know about the blend modes. There are really three main ones that you need to be aware of. Multiply, which reduces all the whites, thereby darkening. Screen, which does the opposite, taking out all the blacks to lighten. And then overlay, which creates contrast. So these are the three main ones that you need to be aware of, and the blend modes can all be found right here. Now, we're going to begin using the blend modes as it relates to Sylvia. I'm going to begin by deactivating this blend mode layer, and we'll be working with the Sylvia layer. Okay, so what's kind of cool about this latest version of Photoshop is just by scrolling through the blend modes, you can see the visual effect of each one taking place. This wasn't the case in previous versions. So it's pretty handy. Basically, this first category is darkening. The second one is lightening, as you see there. This plays around with different levels of light. This one is a weird one that no one ever uses, and the last one is more for color. So, as I said before, the main ones to be aware of: multiply, which darkens; screen, which lightens; and lastly, overlay, which provides contrast, showing the lights and the darks. We are going to begin by lightening things up with screen for Sylvia. So it takes out the blacks here, and we can therefore see what's happening behind her, the Starry Night. Now we're going to go to Starry Night, and the Starry Night, we would like to see a bit of the greens. So what we're going to do here is we're going to go to blend modes, and we're going to be darkening it. So voila, we have this lovely visual double exposure effect, as though each of these pictures were kind of projected through a screen, one on top of the other. So it's a lovely effect. The next thing that we're going to be doing today is we're going to be learning about adjustment layers. And adjustment layers are basically layers that you can add on top of images to change the size, shape, color, or contrast of an image. It's a non-destructive way of working with layers. So instead of like actively erasing things, which deletes information in files and makes it difficult to go back and change, we can add adjustment layers. We're going to be adding adjustment layers to this scan logo. Cleaning it up, this old crumpled up piece of paper from 1997, we're going to be changing things and improving upon this. Okay, so we're on the scan logo file. The first item of business here is we're going to be straightening this. Now you're going to do this by going to the crop tool. There are different ways to go about straightening one, but I think the easiest thing is just to float up here to the straighten tool. I'm going to zoom in a bit. Okay. And I want to see all of the logo. Okay, so I'm clicking on straighten here. Going to the bottom of the first letter and dragging it across. Notice that I'm trying to keep this consistent across the bottom of each letters. There we go. All right, so that's pretty good. It's a bit unlevel here, but overall I think that's fine. So I'm going to live with this. All right, so I'm zooming out a bit, and then I'm going to further crop this a bit by dragging out here and here. And then I'll click OK. There we go. All right, so we've straightened out the logo. The next item of business will be adding adjustment layers. And we can find them down here in the bottom of the screen right here. The first thing that we're going to be doing is adding an adjustment layer effect called Levels, and you can find it here in this black and white circle here. Click on that and go to Levels. Now this will pop up in your Properties panel up here. This is called a histogram, and basically this is a visual representation of the blacks and whites in any given image represented here. And the nice thing about this is this can kind of change our understanding of what should be white and what should be black. And we can do that through these eyedropper tools. So what we're going to do is we're going to pick like what is kind of like the whitest part of this image, which I'm going to say is right about here, and we're going to click on it. Okay, so this is making the light gray white. We could take it a step further. It's down to 197. I think we could go as far as like 190. 189. All right, so pretty white. And we can do the same thing with the blacks. So I'm going to go to the black eyedropper, click in the middle, and suddenly the dark grays are black. It's pretty good. All right, so we've done that. Now what we're going to do is we're going to clean up this garbage here, the handwriting around the logo. And we're going to be doing this by painting over them. But we don't want to paint over the actual logo. We just want to add an adjustment layer. So we're going to go down here to this little plus sign in a box. You see this plus sign in the box? Click on that, and bam! We have our first adjustment layer added to it. Okay, then we're going to go to the paint tool, which we see here, this brush tool. Click on that, and we're going to be painting over it. Now, when I start painting it, it doesn't look very good because, of course, we're painting black, and we're looking for white. The reason why we have black first is because black is the foreground color represented here. What we want is white, so we have to switch that around as follows. We just click these arrows and suddenly we have white. We do have a very small paintbrush, and we don't want that, so we're going to change it by right-clicking on our image, and we're going to change the size and hardness. We'll change the size to about 90, and we're going to change the hardness to 100%. The hardness is a scale of feathering from having like a hard edge to it to a very blurred edge. So you want 100%. And then you can just click out of the box to start painting. So I'm painting over the writing and the date. All right, so that's pretty good. I'm going to make sure that you have a clean screen for this. Some of this I'm not entirely sure if it's writing or not. Okay, so next up we're going to be painting in the black. So as you can imagine, we're going to switch from white to black here. We're going to also change the size of our brush. Here we're going back down to 25 is fine. And then we're going to be painting in the letters. I would recommend you zoom in. 25 is pretty big. I'm going to right click and change it to a smaller brush. There we go. Down to 15. Okay, so pretty good. We have some slight imperfections in the N, the U. I'm pressing spacebar and dragging over. the F, and the K. And notice that I'm just clicking here. I'm not even clicking and dragging because it's that precise. All right, we'll zoom out a bit. Pretty, very pretty. All right, so now what we're going to be doing is we are going to be dropping this layer into our double exposure. However, doing so is going to require us to do two steps. Because if we just copy and paste a layer into this, we won't get the painting of the various adjustment layers. So what we're going to do here is we're going to click Select All. And this will shoot up a animated boundary around our logo. And then we're going to go to Edit and go to Copy Merge. We'll go to our double exposure image, and now we will paste. Okay, so there we have it. All of the little tweaks that we've done to the logo. We don't want this particular color or this particular placement. So what we're going to do now is we are going to go up to Image and Layer, and what we're going to do now is we're going to go to Adjustments, Image, Adjustments, and then we're going to go to Invert. Okay, so that is just changing whites to blacks. We have it there, and now we're going to add a little blending mode to this to make it blend into the background, and we will go to Screen. Okay. The last thing that we want to do is place this someplace a bit more subtle. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to Edit, and we're going to go to Free Transform. Keep in mind that Transform allows us to do all of these things, but Free Transform allows us to do it a bit more intuitively. So I'm clicking on Free Transform, and then I'm dragging in the logo, and I'm going to just drop it over here. The Free Transform tool can do everything that we want. Otherwise, if we want to rotate it, we can just extend the cursor beyond until we get these double arrows. Another thing that you can do is if you'd like to squish it, you can hold Shift and drag it out. But if you don't want to make any of those adjustments, you'll note that the width and the height are locked together, and so it's going to adjust in perfect locked ratio. So that does it. Blending modes and adjustment layers in Photoshop.